Welcome, everyone. Before we get started, I'm going to provide a quick review of the technology. We have set up this meeting as a webinar, which is a way to host Zoom meetings with a larger audience. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the link will be available after today's session. We welcome you to revisit the content and share it within your network. We also invite your questions. Please look at the Q&A box on your screen. If you think of a question, you can type it in there, and we will plan to create an FAQ at the end of the series that addresses these questions. If you are having any issues with the Zoom technology, please feel free to either chat with me in Zoom or email me. I'm also dropping my email in the chat so that you can access that throughout the webinar. If you have any issues, you can also use the chat function to directly reach out to the panelists, and I can help assist. Thank you.
Welcome to the Building Our Africatown, an 8-part series of educational presentations commissioned by the Africatown Heritage Preservation Foundation, the AHPF. My name is Levy D. King III, and I'm the board chair of the AHPF's Board of Directors. The AHPF, founded by past and present residents of Africatown and who is based in Mobile. The foundation's mission is to preserve and document stories of historical Africatown and create cultural and economic transformation through education and partnerships that benefit the environment and mankind. The purpose of this series is to introduce residents and interested persons to information, perspectives, and options relevant to the developing both a shared vision for the future of Mobile and neighborhoods like Africatown, as well as a mission that uplifts current and future residents of Mobile and neighborhoods like Africatown. It's about building capacity to support the community to make informed decisions about its future. A word about the purpose and design of the series. First and foremost, its purpose is to educate its participants. However, the method of the series is to lead participants to ask themselves questions rather than tell them what they should think. Second, its purpose is to engage Africatown residents and interested parties in seeking answers to make sense to them. Finally, the series seeks to encourage residents of Mobile to speak across historic lines of separation, fear, and misinformation to address shared problems requiring previously unimaginable partnerships.
There are many things we see, smell, and hear every day without consciously wondering why it's that way. For many things, not wondering is probably okay. But does that work for everything? If you Google Mobile, Alabama, this is one of the images that appears. Why is that? Who created this image? Why does it appear? Who decided it should appear? What does it say to you about Mobile? Here is one of the images that appears when you Google Africatown. It's an example of how we hope the series will ask critical questions to help you and your decision-making. Who created this image? Why does it appear? Who decided it should appear? What does it say to you about Africatown? What does it say to you about Mobile? Does it say Africatown is in Mobile? Should it say that? In your mind's eye, when you imagine an image of Mobile side by side with an image of Africatown, what do your images look like? What would you want the images to look like? For many people, the story of Africatown is mostly about the Clotilda. The 2022 Netflix documentary Descendant documented the people who arrived on the Clotilda and their legacies who survived and thrived. Descendant also documented the stories and gave voice to many, including people like Mr. Cudjoe Lewis. The documentary also put a spotlight on the community of Africatown and the people who live there today. This photograph depicts Principal I.J. Whitley with the Mobile County Training School class of 1921, its first graduating class. To many, this photograph is representative of the golden age of Africatown. The founders and community leaders during this period had a vision of prosperity and community as shown through the schools, the businesses, stores, and other community hubs that they created. This image is a concept drawing for the Africatown landing prepared by Mississippi State University and proposed by the city of Mobile as one of their upcoming transformative projects. Where is this land? Who will own it? Who will frame its usage? And what about this image? It imagines locations for historic Africatown, Joe Allen ex-public housing, Africatown Blueways, and Africatown Park, USA. What do you think about this image? Did you know about it before tonight? Should you know about it? Does it represent a good idea? Do you think you'll benefit from it? Do you have any questions about it now? This is an image that shows potential future for Africatown as seen in Figure 7, development opportunities, plateau in the Africatown Neighborhood Plan. City of Mobile, 2018-16. What do you see? What should you see? Here is the Heritage House. What is the heritage that will be housed here? Is it everything you think it needs to be? Who will protect that heritage today and tomorrow, 10 years from now, 100 years from now? In this slide, as you can see here, the population for Mobile is projected to grow by 19,000 people by the year 2040. Where will those additional 19,000 people live? Where do you think they should live? Should they live in Africatown? This is an image that talks about something called neighborhood character. Neighborhood character is an amalgam of various elements that give neighborhoods their distinct personality. The elements of neighborhood character may include a neighborhood's land use, urban design, visual resources, historic resources, socioeconomics, traffic, and or even noise. So, are your fingerprints on these plans? Should they be? What would you need in order for your fingerprints to appear? In his influential book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey outlined the difference between principles and values. In Covey's view, principles are rules or laws that are permanent, unchanging, and universal in nature. Values are internal and subjective, and they may change over time. This slide shows the potential structure of what's called a community partnership in Africatown. But what is a partnership? How does it work? A community partnership is a vehicle for bringing people together in their community to establish strategies, implement plans, and hold responsible agencies accountable for neighborhood development. This image shows how working groups that focus on key areas of community development can relate to each other. This image talks and introduces a concept about building consensus, which is a way of making decisions. We have raised many questions in this preview. What are the answers to all the questions that have been raised? Who will decide what are the answers? Who will benefit? Who won't benefit? How will decisions be made? So now we'd like to give you a chance to speak with us. In the chat, please write one thing you would like to learn over the course of the next 7 weeks. Please make sure you use the drop-down menu and make sure your input goes to everyone so they can see your response. And thank you for providing your response. We're going to give you about a minute to put something in the chat that you would like to learn, or your definition of success at the end of this series. Thank you for those responses that you put in the chat. Please keep adding them. We are also now going to launch a poll. We want to know who is viewing our presentation preview tonight. And so we're going to ask you to answer a short poll that gives a couple of questions that you can answer about who you are.
Looks like we have around 23, 24 participants so far. Thank you to all who filled it out.
All right, we are at 78%. Is there anyone else who wants to answer or respond to the poll? All right. Thank you so much for those of you who have responded. The last thing we're going to do is put a link to the valuation that we want you to fill out. We'd like you to take a few minutes and fill that evaluation out. And one of the things that we're wanting to make sure we pay attention to over the next 7 weeks is to answer your questions and address the issues that you've raised. Some that you've raised tonight and others that we hope you'll send in. One of the things that we care about is making sure that this series prepared by the foundation is informative and useful to you. Josh, I think you can take the survey down now.
Tonight was a preview. We have given you a glimpse of each of the individual presentations that the AHPF will deliver every Thursday for the next 7 weeks. Please consider attending every presentation or at least most of them. Thank you also for the questions and comments you've put in the chat. Those will not be lost, but will help inform us as we prepare for the upcoming sessions. We'll also be compiling an FAQ, frequently asked questions, that will capture the frequently posed questions. Again, my name is Levy D. King III, and I humbly serve as the board chairman for the Africatown Heritage Preservation Foundation. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing each of you next week, 6:30 p.m. Have a great evening, everyone.